The role of probation officers in sentencing. A judge is about to sentence a defendant, but before making a decision, they turn to one crucial document, the pre-sentence investigation report. The person who wrote it, a probation officer. But how much power do these reports actually have, and what factors do probation officers consider when making their recommendations? Probation officers act as neutral investigators for the court. They do not work for the defense or the prosecution. Instead, they provide the judge with a detailed, unbiased assessment of the defendant's background, character, and likelihood of reoffending. Their primary job is to prepare a pre-sentence investigation report, a document that carries significant weight in sentencing decisions. The pre-sentence investigation report includes the defendant's personal background, education, employment history, and mental health. It details the circumstances of the offense, whether it was violent, involved financial loss, or had mitigating factors. Criminal history is reviewed, including prior offenses, probation violations, and the likelihood of reoffending. The report may include victim impact statements that describe how the crime affected individuals or the community. It also contains sentencing guideline calculations and analysis of where the case falls under the federal sentencing guidelines. The defendant's level of cooperation with authorities is noted, including whether they have accepted responsibility or assisted law enforcement. Imagine two defendants convicted of the same crime. One gets probation, the other gets 5 years in prison. The difference? A probation officer's report highlighting their past behavior, remorse, and risk level. Probation officers make sentencing recommendations that can suggest prison time, probation, fines, or supervised release. While judges are not required to follow these recommendations, they often rely heavily on them when determining a sentence. Probation officers have no formal sentencing authority, but their reports and testimony carry significant weight in the decision-making process. Judges use their findings to determine the appropriate sentence length and whether alternatives to incarceration, such as probation or community service, are suitable. If a defendant's report shows a stable work history, family support, and remorse, the probation officer may recommend a lighter sentence or probation instead of prison. However, if the report reveals a pattern of criminal behavior or lack of remorse, it could lead to a harsher sentence. Probation officers do more than evaluate past behavior. They also assess a defendant's risk level and ability to reintegrate into society. Judges consider these factors when deciding between prison time or alternative sentences such as supervised probation, house arrest, mandatory rehabilitation programs, or community service. In some cases, probation officers may recommend enhanced supervision conditions, including regular drug testing, employment requirements, or restrictions on travel and internet use. While judges heavily rely on probation officers' reports, they are not bound by their recommendations. A judge may disagree with a suggested sentence based on other factors, including testimony from victims, defense arguments, or mandatory minimum sentencing laws. However, in many cases, the pre-sentence investigation report serves as the foundation for a judge's decision. Even after sentencing, probation officers continue to play a crucial role. If a defendant is sentenced to probation or supervised release, these officers monitor compliance to ensure they meet the conditions set by the court. Violations such as missing check-ins, failing drug tests, or committing new offenses can lead to revocation of probation and a return to prison. Some critics argue that probation officers have too much influence in the sentencing process, as their reports are often accepted without challenge. Others say their role is essential in ensuring fair and individualized sentences. While their recommendations aim to balance public safety with rehabilitation, the subjectivity of their evaluations can sometimes lead to disparities in sentencing. There have been cases where two similar defendants received drastically different recommendations due to differences in probation officers' assessments, sparking debate about potential bias in the system. Probation officers are often the unsung decision-makers in sentencing, providing judges with the critical information needed to determine appropriate punishments. Their reports shape sentencing outcomes and influence whether defendants are incarcerated or given a chance at rehabilitation. Should probation officers have the power to shape sentences, or do judges rely on them too much? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe to 0 Hour Files for more in-depth legal insights and sentencing breakdowns. As Mats Fredriksson wisely says, Justice isn't just about punishment, it's about who gets a second chance.